Hey you guys, welcome to Yakety Mac. I appreciate you hanging out with me for a little bit today. So guys, today we are going to talk depth finders. Actually, we're going to compare two depth finders. A viewer of the channel saw my video on my Deeper Pro Plus 2 and the video on my Garmin Striker 4 install, and commented that he would like to know about the two of them, kind of compare them, if you will. Fishing Physician, that's such a cool name. And I thought, wow, that's a great idea. I do have both type of units, and so I will share my thoughts with those. So that's what I'm going to do today, guys. I've got them both running side by side. I'll show you a couple of screenshots with them, and then we'll talk about the pros and cons of each. Appreciate you hanging out. Let's get to it. So guys, I want to start off by talking about the Deeper Pro Plus 2. That's the one that I went with first about 2.5 years ago when I kind of first started getting into this. And I'll give you the reason why I went with the Deeper Pro Plus 2. I didn't know anything about anything. So the idea of running wires and trying to find the right battery for a depth finder, and I didn't even know what a transducer was, guys. And so the Deeper Pro Plus 2 seemed like a very beginner, user-friendly type thing where I could no depth, no water temperature, kind of see structure underneath and stuff. And so, and it turned out to be exactly that. It was very, very user-friendly. So let me tell you what it is real quick. It's this little transducer ball. A lot of technology packed into that little ball. And you can open it up, and there's a charging port inside there, so the battery is self-contained. And so then when you've got that in the water, and you can attach it to an arm, you can attach it to a fishing pole actually and cast it out. So that makes it very useful for, say, fishing from a bank or a pier. And it will send a signal to an app on your phone that basically just displays the screen. Let me show you that here real quick. So there you go. You see right now I've got it running. I got it on a little iPhone SE. It says we're in 11.5 feet of water. It shows some different little marks, and I'm not exactly sure what that is. Maybe just debris like leaves and such. I'm not sure. And if you look down here at the bottom, you can see it's got a little bit of green on the bottom there, which would indicate some vegetation. And so what's really cool about using the Deeper Pro on a cell phone is that it's got good resolution. You know, the screens that we're using for our cell phones these days have incredible resolution, so you're able to pick up quite a bit. And so that's a really cool aspect. And another cool aspect of using a phone is that phone does not need to be active. You don't need to have a plan. It doesn't use data. You don't need a SIM card. The actual transducer, with all that little technology inside of it, actually transmits a Wi-Fi signal that allows you to connect the app to the device when it's in the water. It recognizes when it's in the water. And so that is a pretty cool feature of the Deeper Pro. We talked about it being transportable, being able to take it from the bank or a pier to the boat or whatever it might be. I used it a lot going back and forth between my two fishing vessels, my kayak and my Pelican Bass Raider. So I would simply take the transducer ball and my phone with me and on this boat, and vice versa. So it became very portable to that. And another thing about the technology side of it is that because it's an app, they're constantly making updates to an app, software updates. And so you can just upload the most recent version of an app, and therefore you'll be able to access additional features that they build in to the devices as they go. In fact, they've just recently, I think the app is called Fish Deeper. They just recently did an app update. Now, some of the features that you access are premium, and so therefore there's an additional fee associated with them. We'll get into cost here in just a moment. And so it's really cool. And I would advise, if you're going to go this route, I would definitely advise that you use an old phone or you buy a cheap phone instead of your daily driver, just so that you don't have that phone out and about sitting out somewhere and you accidentally knock it over the side, or you damage it some way, or you get caught in a rainstorm. I'm going to touch on that in a moment as well. And then, I would definitely advise using an old phone. That's what I do for sure. And so the Deeper Pro is a really good unit. I find it to be pretty accurate. I'm going to show you here with both it and the Garmin running at the same time. There's the Deeper, says we're in, just over 10 foot of water. And then here is the Garmin, which shows that we're just in under 10 feet of water. Their transducers are mounted a little bit different. Obviously I've got the Deeper Pro unit mounted over the side here, as to where the transducer for the Garmin 4 is underneath the kayak in a little cutout area. So it's an accurate device. It is a good device. You can select beam width, narrow, medium, or wide. You can also mark points on the map where you catch fish. You can switch back and forth between icons. You can have your traditional arches. You can have little fish icons. I don't really care about that. I don't use this to find fish because I honestly don't know what I'm looking at on here. I mostly use it for depth, water temperature, for a safety feature. Being a non-swimmer, I like to always know how deep of water I'm in, just in case something were to happen. And then water temperature is really important too, because I fish here year round. So knowing what kind of water temps I'm in as well also is a safety thing, just to be aware of. It's good to be aware. So now there are some downsides, however, to the Deeper Pro. It's not extremely cost effective, just because it's more simple and a little bit more versatile than the Striker 4. It's not cheaper. Actually, the Garmin Striker 4 is a little bit less expensive when you figure in kind of everything that you're going to need. So currently, I think right now, the flagship, I think, for the folks over at Deeper is the Chirp 2. I've got the Deeper Pro Plus 2. I think the Chirp 2 is their latest and greatest, and it's running about $250. And then if you buy a flexible arm, like what I did, there's another $75 to $80. So now you're in for about $325. And then if you buy in a cheap kind of no plan phone, unlocked phone, you're going anywhere from $40 to $60, depending on how big of a screen you want or the type of phone. So you're in for mid $350 to maybe upper $350 in that ballpark. And then of course, if you want the premium features of the app, that's going to cost you a little bit more as well. As to where the Garmin, with the Garmin and the battery and the everything I needed, the mount, I was all in, I think, for $310 from Navarre Kayak Fishing. So my entire bundle for the Garmin was going to be less than a bundle that I would need to run the Deeper Pro. So from a cost-effective side, the Garmin's actually a little bit more cost-effective. Another downside to the Deeper Pro is that I started having an issue with it. I'm going to see if I can switch this out and show you what I'm talking about here. It's beam angle. I'm going to move this beam angle over to medium and see if I can get it to do it. So the issue that I would have is that I would be in what I knew would be 6, 7, 8, 9 feet of water. And all of a sudden, the depth finder would start telling me I'm in 35 feet of water, and it would just start fluctuating all over the place. And I would see all kinds of fish icons just completely filling up the screen. And it started to do this often. And so I'm like, what is going on? And so I sent the folks over at Deeper an email. Now, to their credit, they replied, but the frustrating part of that is they would only reply one time every 24 hours. It didn't matter if I would reply to their email within 5 minutes of them sending it, it would still be 24 hours before another reply came back. So that was a little frustrating because they would ask me a question, I'd answer it right away, and it would be 24 hours before then I would hear back from them, and then they'd ask me another question. So that was a little frustrating. And what they told me is that they said they were able to see, one of the things about the Deeper is when you get home, you can upload all of your data from your day of fishing to the cloud. And then tech support can actually see that data. And one of the things they told me was, hey, we see you have this on medium beam. Sometimes the medium beam is like so powerful, if you've got a really soft bottom, it gets weird things back. Try switching to the narrow beam or the wide beam. That seemed really fishy to me. I'm like, I think you would have said that no matter what beam I had it set on. But I actually tried it and it stopped. And so while the plus is that I didn't have a defect with my unit, the downside is that I lost one of the beams. I tend to just kind of keep it in the middle, and I had to either select wide or narrow. And I thought, well, that kind of defeats the purpose of having that option available. But anyway, they did reply back. They were communicative, but it's one reply every 24 hours. And so no matter how quickly you answer their question. So that's another little problem that I had with the Deeper Pro. And then battery life is not the greatest. I get about 6.5 to 7 hours maybe on the little transducer ball. And then of course your phone, it chews up battery pretty quick on your phone as well. And so if you're out in a tournament and you're on the water for 9 hours or so, I was spending the last hour and a half of the tournament without the use of my depth finder, because the little ball, the transducer ball, would die. I could charge the phone because I carry a little battery pack, and so after about 3 hours the phone would give me a warning that it was getting low and I could plug it in. And so that was a little bit of a hassle. And then I lost a phone to the Deeper Pro because I got caught out in a rainstorm, and I was using a much larger Android phone than this little iPhone SE, and got caught out in a rainstorm. It ruined the phone, and so it is what it is. So now I have to go to this smaller phone here. So those are the talking points on the Deeper Pro Plus 2, or just the cheaper, the Deeper Chirp, I guess, as well, which if you're looking at buying new. It's a good little unit. I don't really have any complaints about it, but I went to the Garmin for a reason, and so I'll get into some of those right now. So guys, one of the reasons that I switched over and went to the Garmin is that I got kind of tired of making sure that I pulled the ball out and charged it up each time, and then hooked it back onto my crate so that no matter what boat I was going to, I could remember to take it with me. I didn't want to forget it. And so that was kind of that while it's a plus, it also kind of got to be a little bit of a hassle. I hated jumping back and forth all the time. And then because I'm OCD, I kind of hated the little arm hanging off right here. I tend to net fish on this side of the boat. Being left-handed, I tend to pull them around this way and net them, and I kind of hated the arm being right there. And I tried moving it to different spots. If I move it over here, it interferes with where my paddle goes. I got a track mount in the back I moved it to, and the issue is that as you are propelling yourself through the water, that arm tends to bend this way, and it would kind of lift the transducer ball up out of the water. So there were a couple of things there that were kind of aggravating about it, and I thought, man, I'd love to just have a set it and forget it type of system, and that's one of the reasons that I went with the Garmin Striker 4. And I don't have to worry about, I've got one battery to charge, and that's the little 4.4 amp hour that I keep hanging on the back of my seat here, and it'll last for a couple of full days, so it's not something that if I forget to charge one time, I'm in sort of some big trouble. And so I like that aspect of the Garmin. And then also, I don't know, while the resolution and the technology inside the Deeper is really great, I'm not sure why, but I tend to get more feedback from the Garmin transducer. I'm going to show you a little bit of that right now. So it just tends to show me more things, and try to get rid of this glare if I can. It just tends to show me more stuff. More than the Deeper Pro does. So like for instance, here's something here, and I don't know how to read this, so I don't know what that is, but there that goes, and yet I'm not seeing it on here. I find that the transducer for the Garmin just seems to provide me more feedback. It tends to provide me more detail. And I obviously like that aspect of it. Even though I don't know what it all is, I do intend on learning it at some point in the future. I do want to know what all of that means so that I can fully utilize this device. But I also like the fact that I can position the the Garmin device in such a way that it's easy to read. I don't have to really mess with brightness. I can be in the brightest of sun and easily tell what the display says. It's got good color to it. It's probably the same size screen as this little iPhone SE here. Would it be nice to have a little bigger screen? Yeah, but then of course it gets in the way more too anytime you get into anything bigger like that. But you can mark points on the Garmin. It'll track your speed. Just they do a lot of the similar stuff. I think the Garmin is just, it's nicer to have it always in place and just not have to worry about transporting it. It's nice to have that transducer protected up underneath the kayak and just kind of permanently there. And so the wires ended up not being a problem at all because I can run those through the hull. I'm not sure what's in the water up there, so I might seem a little distracted. But I just like the Garmin better from that aspect of it. It's a little strange because it's all push button. And touching the push buttons on there is where, you know, I mean, we're so accustomed to scrolling things and touching on the phone like what you can do here with the Deeper, as where here you navigate with some arrows and then hit your little check key button to enter into a menu. Not a big deal or anything along those lines. But the price of it is solid. It is a solid unit. I don't have to worry about it getting wet. I've been caught in a couple of rainstorms with the Garmin. No issues whatsoever. If all of a sudden I saw dark clouds moving in right now, I'd have to take my phone and try to put it somewhere where it could stay dry. With the Garmin, it's no issue whatsoever. So I absolutely prefer the Garmin. Neither one of them are bad. But now that I'm kind of over some of my rookie nerves or just lack of understanding of how it all works, I'm definitely happy that I've gone with the Garmin. In fact, I'm happy enough that I've also installed one here just some a week or so ago on my Bass Raider. And so now I've got a Garmin unit permanently on my Bass Raider, a Garmin unit permanently on here, and I no longer have to worry about bouncing back and forth or swapping them out or anything. So guys, there's my 2 cents on these two devices. Both of them are good. You're not going to go wrong, I guess, if you pick either one of them. But I do think that you'll find that the Deeper Pro, it just gets to be a little bit of a hassle with its battery life and constantly having to make sure you remember that little transducer ball, because without it, it's all worthless. As to where the Garmin is really just set it and forget it and make sure you have your battery. That's it. So guys, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you. I'm going to try to get a bite here before the morning bite disappears and it gets really hot. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys. I always appreciate you guys every single time. I appreciate you all. I'm going to get out of here and I'll see you back soon. I'm going to do a product review on the new crate that I've got. Until then, guys, make sure you always take some time to get outside and play.